Recently, I've been getting into a lot of arguments with people on X, the Everything app, mostly relating to how Superman was depicted in the 2014 to 2021 DC Extended Universe, or DCEU for short, which was the mostly Zack Snyder led franchise of movies centered around the DC universe of superheroes. It acted as a direct counter to everything Marvel was doing with the MCU that started 5 years earlier and ended. It hasn't ended yet, and it's been 3 years. It really makes you think something must have happened outside of their control. I mean, the movies have to have at least been good, right? Oh no. Yeah, I don't think these videos are very good, and as you could probably guess by the fact that I've been in a constant war on X, the Everything app, that appears to be a hot take now. I said this in my Amazing Spider-Man video, but people are really clouded by this weird nostalgia-driven recency bias. In this case, it's not as much as the recency bias because the movie is 10 years old. It is 10 years old. But this is still very nostalgia-driven. Look, if you grew up with this movie and you like this Superman, that's fine. If the movie made you feel in a way that made you love this character or world or universe, whatever, that's awesome. I love that for you. But I think it is pretty disingenuous to claim that this is a good version of the character in almost any regard. Now, I might make a video about this in the future, but we, as a species, do this weird thing where we conflate our subjective opinions with objective opinions. And I think there can be both. Like, if you think a movie is good because you felt good watching it, that's a good opinion, you know, that's fine. But it's a subjective opinion. There's nothing to base it off of. But in this case, with Superman, he's existed for a very long time. We're going. I think it's like 90 years now. He's been around. There have been literally thousands of comics, not including shows, movies, the few video games. Like, I don't even think including spin-offs that just have him as a character. We know how the original creators envisioned the character, and we know how other creators have successfully built off of that. We also know how some creators made the character worse. I mean, if your character runs fast, is strong and invincible, and is a good person, those are core characteristics. From here, when a new creator takes the reign, they can go one of two ways. You can expand and build off of that original character, give them new powers like flight or laser eyes, maybe add some characters, add a weakness, make kryptonite a thing. Oh, now there's this thing that can make him a little weaker to make stories just a little bit more interesting. Although he doesn't need kryptonite weakness to be an interesting character. Maybe now the character has like parents and friends that he like grew up with, and we can see how the people who he's been with since he was a kid affect him as an adult and help him make the decisions he currently makes. This fleshes out the character more. The other path is one where maybe you make it so, hypothetically, the character is only nice because their girlfriend makes them that way. And when the girlfriend is dead, the hero becomes a villain and kills everyone immediately. That's a bad change because it takes away a core characteristic. We know who Superman is supposed to be. We can compare him to hundreds or, like I said, thousands of iterations of this character. And we can see, oh, this one felt better. This one doesn't. That is a more objective opinion because it is based off of an understanding of how the character used to be. You know, when a change is good, it becomes widely accepted by the fan base through a mass collective objective opinion that, oh, this is a good change. And when it's bad, it's thrown away. Unless you're Spider-Man, then it's kind of, you know, like flip it, reverse it. That's not what the video is about though. I just want you to know that when I argue, I'm trying to argue using this objective standard. This video is actually supposed to be a review of Man of Steel. I wrote in the script that it was supposed to be a quick review. That's when I started writing the video. It's a way longer review now. It was supposed to be like 10 minutes. I want to do a bigger deep dive into like both of the Snyder Superman movies. Like not I don't think Justice League counts, but Batman vs Superman and Man of Steel. So I might do that in another video, but I just wanted to focus on a couple key moments that I think highlight why this movie doesn't work for me. In Man of Steel, we spend so much time doing anything but seeing Clark be a superhero. We spend 10 minutes showing us Krypton blowing up and looking horribly ugly, which isn't that bad. 10 minutes is fine. Sometimes it's longer. I think I think Superman 78 was like 20 minutes maybe, but 10 minutes, that's fine. Krypton's fucking ugly and horrible. But as soon as Clark is sent away to Earth, we follow him there, and the movie. Okay, we're still on Krypton, but it's okay because General Zod is the main villain, and he is a Kryptonian war criminal. So that means that we have to see him become a criminal on Krypton and swear vengeance on the kid of Jor-El. That's cool. Maybe like an extra couple minutes. Maybe we could have mixed that into the 10 originally, because like 5 of those minutes was spent getting a stupid fucking skull thing, right? So we could have mixed it in a little better, but we didn't. That's fine. But we get some important information. We see that General Zod and his army are sent to the Phantom Zone. Now we know the villain, and we're provided a tool that could help us defeat the villain in a non-lethal manner if necessary. But cool. We did spend way longer than we needed to on this. Just show us Jor-El getting the Codex thing. Actually, cut that. Remove it. We don't need it. It's not important. It's literally just a waste of time. It takes It takes literally half the time that they're on Krypton to deal with this fucking Codex thing. Then Jor-El gets home, sends Clark away, and you can have General Zod getting sent to the Phantom Zone, like interspliced with all the Codex thing or whatever. I don't care. Then you show us Clark on Earth, right? But whatever. Right now, we're at a point in the movie where Krypton has exploded, and we can get some time watching Clark on Earth with his adoptive parent. He's on a fishing boat? Okay, that's fine. Actually, I like this. We get an interesting presentation of information. We juxtapose Clark being a hero with the lessons he learned as a kid. Ma and Pa Kent are actually always really good at motivating Clark to help people with his powers. They can be a little overprotective, but ultimately they will never let him just let people.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
Maybe.
Oh my god. Fucking damn it, Zach. Yeah, in this movie, Jonathan Kent tells Clark that a bunch of kids in a bus should have died, which doesn't even make sense because it would have drawn so much suspicion onto Clark. Like, I can see Jonathan scolding Clark for getting caught. You got to be more careful. Maybe he's a little frustrated, but he knows Clark is in the right, so he can't be angry. Otherwise, you're teaching a bad lesson. So he has to find a way of communicating to Clark that you can save people in a safer way that doesn't reveal your identity. Maybe Clark could have punched out the windows of the bus and the people could have swam out the sides. Or he could have opened the roof exit that most buses have, although maybe this bus didn't. I don't know. This was I wasn't there. I didn't look at the top of the bus while watching the movie. Or when he swims out the back and he pushes the bus onto shore, he could have been under the bus and like picked it up on top of him, and then nobody saw him, and he just pretends to wash up on shore and says it's an accident. It's not unrealistic for Clark to just pretend he got lucky. He does it all the time in literally every other iteration of the story. As a writer, as a director, as a creative, it is your job to make sure that you show people believing him. If we as an audience have no reason to suspect that a thing isn't happening, unless you make it something that's like egregious, we don't have a choice but to trust you when you say that it isn't happening. Like in the game, in like Batman and Spider-Man games, people were like, oh, they're killing people. It's like, no, they're not. They're not killing people. It who said that they were killing people? Not me. I didn't say shit. Like the game doesn't suggest they are. There's no plot point around the fact that Batman's killing people. The artists are telling you that Batman is not killing this person, that Spider-Man is not killing this person. And unless you see him like literally rip a person in half, you have no reason to believe that he isn't killing people. Oh, sorry, I really had to switch out of that Letterman jacket. It was so I was dying in there. Yeah, artist says something is happening, it's happening. If it's not happening, it's not happening. Don't argue with them. This movie can just tell us a thing is happening, and we don't need to argue. Who fucking cares? It's not more realistic to just pretend that you don't control the fucking universe. But yeah, if John just told Clark to make it more believable in some way, maybe suggest a couple options that sound kind of silly and dumb, and we can laugh. Maybe Clark was like a weird, react like a little reaction meme shit. I don't fucking know. It's 2014. You can make it sound like he isn't sure about what he's talking about. He wasn't there, but make him have the right idea. You should be more careful. But he can't actually do that because he has to kill himself. Uh, yeah, I think we should talk about that really quick. It's way worse than I remembered. When I watched this movie as a kid, 2014, I got like a premiere thing with my like family. I didn't. I remember Jonathan Kent's foot getting stuck in a door, and then him telling Clark not to save him. So like when I'm thinking back on it, I'm like, oh, Clark could have like got like ran in, bent the door frame a little, and then pulled his dad out, or he could have like used his heat vision, which he does have at this point in the movie, by the way. He could have used his heat vision to like cut off the part of the door because it's going to get destroyed in the tornado anyway. Who cares, right? And then his dad could just pull his leg out and run. There's so many other ways in my mind that he could have saved him if he was in an actual situation where he couldn't get away, but he could. Yeah, he gets his foot out of the door like a while before he dies, and he can walk slowly, but he just goes back and stands at the car. Clark could have ran in, picked him up, walked him out. It's actually insane how much time there is between him getting like his foot broken in the door to getting killed by the tornado. Clark could have ran in and out like 10 times at like a normal like brisk jog speed. Even if he doesn't have a super speed yet, he does not need to go that fast. There is so much time. Even if he gets like caught a little bit in the tornado, he can still just walk out and say he got lucky, right? Or he could walk through like the other side of the tornado, and then in the like not being able to see him, they'd be like, "Oh, what happened?" And you're like, "Oh, we actually got to the other side because it was closer and safer. Wow, we were so lucky." Again, if the creator of a movie says that a scene is believable, guess what? Who the fuck am I to say it's not? I'm not them. I'm not in that world. I can't tell you what people are thinking. The creator can because they made it. They created it. Whatever. Jonathan Kent has to die to teach Clark the lesson that he can't save everyone. So that, he can respond with, "Oh, I'll never stop trying," and then it's like his entire thesis as a character. He knows it might be impossible, but he doesn't give up. Maybe we can tell an interesting story and make this the one time he did give up, thinking it was impossible to save his dad. Like maybe he's like running it, like he wants to run in, but he looks around and he sees the people, and because of the stuff that he learned earlier in the movie, he hesitates. He gets scared. He's like, "Oh no, if I save him, I might reveal my powers," and my dad wouldn't want that. And then maybe Jonathan wants him. He's like, "Son, fucking save me, because obviously you should save me." But Clark hesitates for too long, and Jonathan like solemnly accepts his death, and he's like, "No, son, it's okay. I forgive you," and then he dies. But Clark does, Clark gets in his head. He blames it on him, right? Maybe because of this, he like takes action head on more. He's more aggressive. He's more careless because he just wants to save the people in front of him, but he doesn't worry about the people around him. And then he makes like mistakes, and then people get hurt, and then he learns by the end of the movie to value all life and to save as many people as he can, even if he can't see them. That could be an interesting arc for Superman. Um, But he can't learn that. But he has to learn that like sometimes you just give up on helping people, so like you can let them die. Something interesting about this movie, is that it's a Superman movie. You know, like he is a person. His entire character and stories all the time are based around the people around him in his life. It's how his world affects him. Which is weird because he has no fucking relationships in this entire goddamn movie. He barely had a relationship with his dad before his dad decided to kill himself instead of deal with their problems together. He barely knows Lois. They have like 4 lines of dialogue in the entire movie. They meet in the Arctic. Clark uses his heat vision to cauterize her wounds. Then Lois tracks him down after that. He tells her about how his dad died. Aliens come to Earth. The government arrests Lois for knowing Superman. Superman and Lois talk at like a military base for like 10 seconds before Clark decides to, threaten the entire United States military. And then like at the end of the movie, they like comfort each other after Clark, you know, Hill fucking murders a Kryptonian living being. And then at the end of the movie, Clark gets a job at the Daily Planet and like looks at her and smiles, and that's like the most interactions that they get. Also, I'm pretty sure Clark is the third person in the entire movie to speak to Martha, his mom. His mother who raised him. He's the third person to talk to her the entire movie. Jonathan doesn't get a line to her. They like look at each other and nod, and then Jonathan goes and tells Clark to let kids in a bus die. And the time that Clark talks to Martha is at the halfway mark of the movie. The first person to talk to Martha is Pete's mom, then it's Lois, and then it's Clark. And they have a singular character moment where Clark says to Martha, I found my real dad, Ma. And Martha gets sad because she thinks that Clark is going to leave her again to go with his alien people. And then Clark reassures her that he won't leave her again to go with his alien people. And then he immediately leaves her again to go with his alien people. It's honestly a little hilarious how bad the pacing and writing in this movie is. I also want to mention something really quick. Something I thought about in this scene at the beginning of the movie. By the way, this movie is full of really like small, hilariously poorly written scenes. Like this one scene where Clark steals from this family. He just fucking robs them blind, which is bad, but not important. The scene I want to talk about, however, is the one where he works at a bar or something and he gets bullied by this guy. So he just quits his job on the spot, I guess, and then he does this. Now, if I was this guy, I think that my first reaction would be good to go inside and be like, oh, it was that waiter that I bullied. What's his name? And I know, we learned that Clark is using a fake name, which is smart of him. Because if you're going to be doing this shit, you don't want fucking Clark Kent to be the person who did it. But also the same scene where we learned that Clark is using a fake name when Lois is like tracking him down and going to all of his old jobs. We learned that he's been using the same fucking name for every job he's worked. That's how Lois tracked him down in the first place. Superman's identity should have been revealed years ago. This is an egregious thing where I'm like, oh, they should have known who he is because he's been fucking pulling this shit at every job and then leaving. Anyways, Clark leaves Martha again to go by himself to his alien people. He decides first, however, he's going to go to the military and talk with them and demand Lois is freed from their capture because they captured her for having talked to Superman once in the Arctic. Because she never revealed the story of like how Clark's life is. She only leaked the story about how she met an alien in the Arctic. I mean, honestly, her dad could have probably figured out how to free Lois because, he's a really high-ranking general in the army. I don't know, I guess he doesn't exist in this universe or whatever. Clark talks to Lois for about a second before Emil Hamilton shows up, someone that Clark is normally pretty close friends with. He helps develop a lot of Superman's technology, including the Phantom Zone projector. Remember how they introduced the Phantom Zone as like a humane way of removing bad guys from the world without killing them, giving them time to rehabilitate and become better people? They're definitely going to use that again in this movie. Actually, I'm tired of teasing it. They do use it again in this movie. Let's talk about the Phantom Zone really quick. It's very important. The Phantom Zone, as I just mentioned, is the Kryptonian prison dimension where Superman sends his villains that he can't kill but pose a serious, unending threat to humanity and or the universe. Usually characters like General Zod and other Kryptonian villains find themselves getting sent here, especially when they haven't built jail cells designed to hold Kryptonians yet, like is such in this movie universe. It's revealed that General Zod and his army of military criminals or something were released from the Phantom Zone when Krypton exploded because it damaged this gate that kept them there. And it allowed them to just go out, I guess. I don't know. So Zod and his army flew around space for a while until they ran across this Kryptonian ship that allowed them to terraform planets to become more like Krypton. Also, most Kryptonian space technology that can at least travel to Earth has a Phantom Zone projector in it, which can be used to become like a makeshift warp drive. So they have the technology on Earth to develop a Phantom Zone projector. Remember that. When I first went into this movie for this review a couple weeks ago, I thought they just didn't include the Phantom Zone at all because they really, really wanted Clark to kill Zod. And if they had a tool like the Phantom Zone, they would have no reason to kill Zod. Then I watched the movie and I saw that, wait, they do have it? And Clark's ship has a smaller version of the generator inside of it? Then I saw Emil Hamilton, and I got very angry because I know how this movie ends. I rewrote it in my mind to remove this tool from the story because I had no logical way of connecting all these dots in my head in a way that made sense. And then I watched the movie. And actually, I was wrong. This movie is worse in every way that I thought was bad, and everything that I thought was good is actually just really bland and not integrated well within the rest of the plot. So let's just hurry up and get to the fight in Metropolis. I'm going to ignore the moment where Clark has a chance to beat Zod because Zod gets paralyzed after gaining superpowers. But then Clark just teaches Zod how to control them. So Zod and his army are terraforming Earth, having two ships on either side, shooting a beam through the middle, and it alters the atmosphere to become more like Krypton. So Clark and Emil make the plan that Clark is going to fly his spaceship into one of the terraforming ships and make both of their Phantom Zone generators explode, which should create a big black hole that sucks all the Kryptonians back into the Phantom Zone where they're supposed to be. He does that. It works. Now all that's left is to fight Zod because for some fucking reason he didn't get sucked in. I don't care. Now it's Clark's chance to save the city. Okay. He just let a truck blow up a building. Okay. He could have easily caught it. Maybe even thrown it back at Zod, but whatever. We'll just say that the part of the building that exploded was empty and nobody got hurt. Now, though, Clark should realize, oh, he got careless and he could have gotten people killed. He got lucky, so now he's going to try and get Zod far away from civilization. Maybe in this weird desert area that the military base is in, which is also where Emil Hamilton is located. Maybe they can find a way to build a new Phantom Zone portal gun, and then Clark can stall Zod in the desert. Oh, it could have been a cool set piece where there's stakes now, because normally there's not. They're just punching and fucking kicking each other, but now there's stakes because they're not just flying around. That Zod is trying to get to Emil to kill him and destroy the Phantom Zone generator, but Clark has to stop him without killing anyone. They don't want to do that though, so Clark and Zod just fly through the city, destroying building after building. I'm going to trust that nobody is in these buildings being needlessly killed, even though Zack will go on to show us that people did die during this fight. I'm still going to give the movie the benefit of the doubt for now because I like Superman. Maybe we could have Zod throwing Clark into buildings and being acting without cause or care for human casualties, and then Clark is fighting in a way that's kind of more passive. He's trying to just prevent property damage, but he's putting himself at a disadvantage for the sake of saving people. That could be no. Why do I even try to suggest things anymore? Nobody listens to me. Nobody cares about me. I'm just a speck. The universe is too big, and I'm so small. That's bars from Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Straight fucking heat. So yeah, anyways, we're just gonna skip ahead a little bit until the moment. Yeah, General Zod decides to make Clark choose between humans or him. This is a moment where Zod is effectively saying it's impossible to beat me without killing me, or letting these people die to not kill me. So he's basically saying you have to kill him in order to win the fight. It's impossible otherwise. And in Superman media, there's this really common kind of like cute, funny trope where someone or something in some cases will tell Clark it's impossible to do this thing. Then Clark just does it because he's fucking Superman, and nothing is impossible if you have hope for freedom, justice, and the American way. In this movie, Clark just he just agrees with Zod and kills him. It's whatever. And this is gonna sound insane coming from me after everything I've said. I don't think Superman killing a villain is that bad. If it is rare, and on top of it being rare, it's done right. Like super right. Let's quickly talk about whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow. Please be aware that this section contains spoilers for an incredible Superman comic, so please go read it yourself before watching this next segment. Yet in the 1986 comic, Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow, we follow Lois Lane's retelling of the story of how Superman disappeared, how he died. So she goes into detail about how we see like some of Clark's classic rogues get more like deranged and become like really evil, like straight up murdering thousands of people. Clark's identity gets revealed, and he takes all of his loved ones to the Fortress of Solitude for safety. The comic follows a couple truly traumatic moments for Clark, including him getting a visit from the Legion, which revealed a few things, like the fact that Supergirl has died in this universe. Now, for some backstory, this comic is supposed to be the end of like a run of Superman comics, and I don't know if Supergirl dying is like a big thing. I don't know. I didn't look it up, but all that we know is that Supergirl is dead, and the Legion has a Supergirl. So that's like, it's like, why the fuck did you bring her here? It does add a lot to his character though. It also reveals that today in that comic is the day that Superman is supposed to die. And we get this like harrowing panel of Clark just fucking crying. Just like sobbing alone in his trophy room. We see Brainiac has taken over Lex Luthor's mind and body. He finds the fortress and attacks it with several of Superman's strongest villains. He also deploys a force field barrier thing so the Justice League can't go in and save Clark. In an effort to help Superman from some villains who Brainiac recruited that are strong against Superman, like a Kryptonite man who Superman can't beat by himself, Lana Lang and Jimmy Olsen give themselves superpowers and go out. And then Lana kills Lex Luthor to try and stop Brainiac from being able to control his body. Because Brainiac is like a little crab thing on top of Lex Luthor, controlling his mind and body. And if Lex Luthor dies, his body goes into rigor mortis, and Brainiac can't move anymore. But then, right after Lana kills Lex, she's fucking disintegrated by just some guy. And then Jimmy also dies because Brainiac just fucking shoots him with like a laser blast from his eye or some shit. And then Krypto sacrifices his life to drain Kryptonite Man of all of his Kryptonite energy, like killing him instantly. And then Clark hears about Lana dying. And then like these villains from the 30th century like come in with like the Legion. They're like at the same time. And the villains are like, oh yeah, no, we killed Lana. We killed Lana Lane and Jimmy Olsen, and then Clark like freaks the fuck out, and even the Legion is like, oh my god, he's gonna fucking kill us. Oh my, the Superman is like primed to kill people right now. So they just dip, go back to the future, and then Brainiac like actually is stopped because of the rigor mortis. But the whole battle's not over. If you can hear it, ignore this fucking dog barking. He's not barking at anything. There's people downstairs who can deal with him. He's just barking for some reason. But the battle is not over yet. Superman realizes that there's only one villain in his repertoire up to that point who isn't here yet. The one being powerful enough to make all of his villains into murderers, to keep this force field up, to keep the fight going even after all of his villains are dead. Mr. Mixius Pitalik, who reveals himself to Superman saying that they got bored of doing nothing and decided to become evil. So he enters his fifth dimensional form to just straight up kill Superman. And Superman looks at this little trophy that the Legion gave him, and then he comes up with a plan. So he goes and gets his Phantom Zone projector, and he uses the Phantom Zone projector to send Mixie away to the Phantom Zone. But Mixie panics and then says his name backwards, which teleports him to the fifth dimension. And now he's being sent to two different dimensions at the same time, and it literally rips him in half and fucking kills him instantly. And Superman, knowing what he did, is like, he freaks out. He says, quote, "He panicked when he saw the ray and made a fatal error, just as I knew he would. I killed him, Lois. I intended to kill him. I just couldn't risk letting anything that powerful and malignant survive, so I made up my mind, and I did it. I broke my oath. I killed him. Nobody has the right to kill. Not Mixius Pitalik. Not you. Not Superman. Especially not Superman." Superman then walks into a room full of gold kryptonite, draining him of his powers permanently, and then he disappears. I'm not gonna. There's like more to the comic. There's like a reveal. It's not that important, but go read it. It's really good. The reason I tell you about this comic is because this is a moment where Superman actually kills his villain. Like, there's no other way. Mixie is far too powerful for any other option to work, and even still, Superman holds himself to such an impossibly high standard for himself and humanity. He believes so deeply in his heart that he should not kill ever, that nobody should kill ever, that he immediately, with no hesitation, quits being Superman on the spot. He killed one bad guy, the fifth dimensional pure evil being of raw evil energy. He killed him once, and he just quit and made it cold turkey. He just fucking stopped. The worst part is, in this comic where Superman is forced to kill his villain, he still uses the fucking Phantom projector, god fucking damn it. In Man of Steel, Clark is put in a situation where Zod is about to burn down an entire family with his heat vision, and Clark, having him in a chokehold, instead of aiming his head higher until he runs out of energy, or just flying him out of there, let me tell you, and I know this is gonna sound familiar, but there's no better way of phrasing this part. If you're strong enough to snap his fucking neck and leave a shockwave afterwards, you can pick him up. You can fucking fly, Clark Kent. You can fucking fly. For people who are going to try and say that it's dumb for Clark to extend this fight any longer, no it isn't. It's Superman. Superman will keep a fight going as long as it takes to end a conflict without killing anyone, and posing minimal harm to anything else in the process. Even so little as a fucking sidewalk is too much. Actually, just kidding. Clark can't give a fuck about any property damage or human life. He just doesn't care about being safe and careful. He doesn't care about the cost of human life that his actions bring. Then this movie has the gall to try and make Clark start working at the Daily Planet, being all cute and goofy. His response to killing a living being is to cry for a few minutes and then go be cute and silly with his girlfriend at work. I don't think I have any reason to think that Clark Kent cares about being a reporter. He seemed to not have any intention of going into the field earlier in the movie. There was no sign to signify that he would be doing this at all. And that's kind of my ultimate problem with the character of Superman in these two movies, all these movies, really. I'll talk about this more in my Batman vs. Superman video. This one is already 3 times longer than I wanted it to be. But Superman in these movies revolves his entire existence around Lois Lane. He idles around the world for like 15 years until he finds out about his past, and then he meets Lois. Then he decides he's going to move back home, and he sits there idle again until he meets Lois again. Then aliens show up, and Clark decides to go confront the military and show them that he means well, and he gets to meet Lois again. Then he gets sent to a spaceship, where he again interacts with Lois. Then he saves the world by killing Zod, and Lois is there to comfort him. Then he decides to get a job at the same place that Lois works. The next movies are way worse than this, by the way. I don't know how he got the job at the Daily Planet. He doesn't have a resume since he used his fake name for every job. And he has no experience as a writer, even if he didn't use his fake name. It's kind of crazy that everyone on Earth knows that Lois Lane is the first person to know Clark's secret, and then after Clark saves the world, they just publicly sit there together, like hugging and fucking kissing and fucking or something. And then Clark and Lois start dating, and then he looks literally just like Superman with glasses. His hair's not even that different. Snyder fans will look at the most well written, tight storylines ever and be like, how does nobody know Clark's identity? And then they'll look at this movie and be like, this is a masterpiece of storytelling. This is my Superman. Anyways, it's fine. I know I ranted for a while about this movie, but it really isn't bad. There are enough mediocre, but still cute Superman moments to balance out the outlandishly, poorly thought out, and shitty Zack Snyder fan fiction moments. It's a 4.5 out of 10. Again, I'm pretty sure that's what I gave Spider-Man. Anyway, subscribe, so I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully Batman vs Superman, maybe Amazing Spider-Man 2. Just, when you're leaving, make sure you lock the door on the way out. It doesn't auto lock, so you have to lock it. Like when you're walking, you have to turn the knob on the actual knob, and then it closes and then it auto locks. The top lock doesn't. Don't worry about the top lock. I'll close that when you leave. Bye.